reading makes you more empathetic. It's a way to escape life. It can take you to faraway places in your imagination. It can put you into other people's shoes. It keeps your brain healthy. It reduces stress and it can inspire you. Well, today we've got some inspiration coming our way. We're going to be talking to the amazing Nzondi about his books Oware Mosaic and Lipstick Asylum. So don't go away. We will be right back. If you have just joined us, then you're watching Books with Bridgetti, and I'm your host, Bridgetti Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa. Our live stream today is brought to us by StreamYard and Be Live Media. This is an audience-centric show, so do know that I am watching the comments. I've got my phone right in front of me here. I'm monitoring the comments live. So whether you're joining us over on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitter, and also over on Amazon Live, I've got you. So if you're brand new to the show, let me know. I'm happy to give you a shout out. I've been interviewing authors for over about 3.5 years now. So you will, if you go to my storefront over on Amazon Live, you will see that I've got a whole bunch of books there for you to choose from. And our featured book for today is in the carousel. But before I introduce my amazing guest, Nzondi, I'm all about helping people level up. And who's not online today? Everyone's online. If you've got a product, service, or whatever you've got, you need to be online, right? And I'm all about helping people level up. So what I use personally myself is the Logitech Brio. It's got the trademarked right light technology, which means it can adjust to any lighting conditions. And I see a lot of people fail there because they don't have the right lights. And this camera is fantastic. It'll just adjust to whatever you've got around you. And I personally also use the Samsung Studio Condenser microphone. And incidentally, I was amazed to learn that Samsung was the first company to bring out a USB condenser mic. So there's a fun fact for you. Who knew? And if you want to just level up, and not have this big microphone hanging over you, you can also get one of these. This is a Rode lavalier microphone, and I recommend one of these gizmos. And it also comes with one of these fancy schmancy wind thingamajiggies, which is helpful if you outside. Sometimes we do stuff like that. Anyway, we are talking to an amazing author today, Nzondi, about his books, Oware Mosaic and Lipstick Asylum. And if you've never met him, I've just met him. He's amazing. Oh my gosh, we had so much laughs about where his name came from. I don't know if we want to go there with this interview. Who knows? We'll just roll with the punches. But for those of you who don't know Nzondi, he's an American science fiction and horror novelist. He's also a former director of education. Like, wow. I always feel that these education people give people, it has an unfair advantage when it comes to writing books. They may not say so, I think they do. Anyway, his novel is called Oware Mosaic, and it won the Bram, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Stoker Award for Superior Achievement in Young Adult Fiction. So let's invite our amazing guest to the show, shall we? Nzondi, welcome to the show. So glad that you could make some time to join us today to talk about your work. But before we get started, where are you from? How did you start out as an author?
Can I say before I get started, number one, you look absolutely stunning in red. Red is really your color, looks fantastic. And number two, I think this might be, I've been on over 2 dozen different podcasts and radio shows in the last couple of months. And this has to be one of the most sophisticated, what the kids that I used to teach call bomb.com shows and presentations that I've ever been on. It looks fantastic. So thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure, and
uh,
thank you for the compliment.
Thanks. Yeah, my name's Asylum in Nzondi Hall, and born in New York. Mom was a nurse working at the Elmhurst Hospital where I was born while we were living in Brooklyn in the Bushwick Projects. We were like 4 years old. We moved out when I was 4 years old. We moved out to Long Island, so we're right next to the Belmont Racetrack, about 3 blocks away from that, in a town called Elmont, which is right on the border of Queens. And I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. My grandfather picked me up came to get me around four when I was about 4 years old, and so he was taking me fishing. And 22 hours later, I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and I grew up there with my grandmother, who took me in at 70 years old, and she was a teacher. And I was raised in Jacksonville until I went back to New York. So yeah, that's a little bit of kind of my history. How did I get into writing? I've always wanted to be a rock star. My grandmother said I was a teacher. I said, no, I'm a rock star. And I did music for a long time, 17 years. And I kind of fell into teaching. I've always been really good at teaching people how to do things, even at a young age. And I started out just to kind of make ends meet as a substitute teacher. And I just started making just a lot of, I just started, for the lack of a better word, breaking a lot of rules, things that hadn't been done before. I was the first substitute teacher to be a sponsor for the National Honor Society, the first to put out a professional newspaper with my eighth grade class. I had 2 mailboxes, and they just embraced me. And from there, I became a certified teacher and worked at IS 231 in Springfield Gardens as a teacher. I can say it now. When I was hired, I was the highest paid first year teacher in that probably the entire district. Um, the principal really got behind me, and I was a director of an after school program, and I just did a lot. I lived for the kids, and I did a lot for the children. I was even on the gymnastics team. And so that's how education kind of got in my background. But I always wanted to be creative. I was trying to be a rock star. That never really worked out. And when I was a director for the Silver Learning Center, I was a director there for 2 years. A friend of mine named Jane Eugene, who sings for the group Loose Ends, told me she could tell that there was a hole in my heart, and I needed to fill that hole in. And I quit that near six-figure job and met two incredible people, Alexandra Sokoloff and Heather Graham, at the West Hollywood Book Fair. And they kind of gave me a little advice and befriended me. And I joined the Greater Los Angeles Writers Society. And at that point, I started learning how to write. I thought I knew how to write as an English teacher, but I didn't. I didn't know how to write novels. And it took me from, I think that was like 2006, it took me about 8 years. And I finally learned how to write a novel properly. Can't wine and dine literary agents. That doesn't work. You got to write really good stuff. And after about 1 million words of writing, I published my first novel through Montauk Press. And I found out that I really, writing is what I was put on this earth to do because I absolutely love it. So that's how I kind of got into the publishing, how I got my first book published and became an author.
Wow, that is amazing. And I do like that you said you had to learn how to become a writer, even though you had your teaching background. I do know that it takes amazing and skill to become a compelling storyteller, to the point where people can't wait to turn the page, or they would sit up all night with a coffee mug because they just have to finish your book. That takes skill. Otherwise people can take weeks to read your book. And I want to just give a shout out to Jim that's watching us over on Amazon Live. He says, "Find your passion awesome." Thank you, Jim. Very kind of you. And so it's interesting that you say that you had to learn that skill, and that after writing, what was it, 1 million words that you've discovered that you actually nailed it.
Yeah,
That's a lot of writing. Wow.
um, a gentleman that I've befriended over the years and gotten to know and had a couple of dinners with. His name is David Gerald. He always gets mad when I say this, but I mean, the favorite thing that I've seen or read that he's written was the Trouble with Tribbles, that Star Trek episode. But he's written many, 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 many incredible things since. But that's the thing I just love him the most for. He's like, Ace, I've written more than that. I was in a lecture once, and he said, until you write 1 million words, it's all practice, and that's kind of where I get that million from. And I actually had written about 1 million words by the time I got published. So yeah, that's kind of where that figure came from. It just took so much for me. I'm not like a fast learner, so it took just a lot of dedication, a lot of consistency, a lot of discipline, and just learning. I went to workshops. I talked to a lot of my mentors. Like shout out to Robert J. Sawyer who took me in and kind of mentored me and helped me out throughout my path. And so it finally started sticking. Every time I would get one thing, I'd get feedback about another thing, like your narrative is weak. And I didn't I was an English teacher. I'm like, what do you mean by my narrative is weak? I had to learn how to write strong narratives. We don't care about your character. What, you got to care about my main character? It was just so many different things I had to learn. Different uh, I had to go every time I wrote a book. I had to go through different passages and work on things. Like I had the word "so" too many times throughout the whole novel. You know, the plot, a lot of plot holes. I wasn't stringing along the plot. Each chapter. Just little things that kind of keeps it together. There's just so many different things that I had to learn how to work on, to learn how to polish up on before the world could see me as an author. So yeah, I learned how to write.
That is amazing. Now, I have interviewed Robert J. Sawyer, and he's in a class of his
Ah,
own.
yes.
He did. He's in a class of his own, an amazing author, and just wow that he mentored you. And I want to dive into your book, but before I do, I was also intrigued by the fact that you are a member of the Mental Health Awareness Committee for the Horror Writers Association.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that.
Um, I'm not really that good at like throwing names out there and remembering different people. I'd have to look at my notes, but over the years, I've found that, well, first of all, mental health has become to most people has become in the mainstream over the last decade. Mental health awareness rather, and with shows like, what's the name of that show? 13. I can't think of the name. 13 Reasons Why or something like that. That
Yeah.
phenomenal teen series on Netflix. With shows like that to show that how teenagers go through so much, and how they kind of respond to that, and they need resources. to get through the tough times of their lives. And then as adults, we all need it. We all go through different pressures and respond to pressures differently. And you just never know what a person's going through. You just never know. You see them every day at work, or you see them as a friend and they're smiling and whatnot, but you have no idea what demons that they're facing. And so, uh, a couple of years ago, I was asked to join a, mental health awareness. Actually, I was actually to write something for a mental health awareness month, and I wrote something about how horror authors have a responsibility to get mental health correct when they write their characters, or the villains, the antagonists, and how this was before Joker came out, and I was interested to see how they were going to portray Joker, because early in the comic books they were kind of a little bit incorrect with how they portrayed, mental health, and there's this stigma that mental health, people who have mental health problems, we need to be afraid of them. And, we have all of these types of movies like, you know, uh, Jason and that kind of thing. And that's actually incorrect. You know, if someone has mental health issues, we don't have to be afraid of them, or think that they're, violent. It's not really like that. So part of my article was just showing, the truth about how we should be more responsible as an author in writing and portraying those types of characters. And recently, I guess about 6 months ago, we kind of started that committee back up. And from that time when I first, wrote that article to about 6 months ago, I found out there were so many authors that had a lot of mental health issues and didn't get the help that they needed. Like famous authors, I had no idea all these authors had that. So now, what we're trying to do at the Horror Writers Association is just provide the resources. We're not trying to be the person to help those people. We don't have, you know, the expertise to do that. Although there are a couple of people in the committee that actually do have like 15, 20 years of expertise in the mental health field. But just to provide the resources, because writing is one of the unsung writers are unsung heroes in the entertainment field. We're even if you're in music and you have a hit song, you're making millions and the world knows you. If you're an actor and you're in a hit movie, the world knows you. You know, Robert J. Sawyer is probably one of the most celebrated authors that is alive today. He's won so many different of the Nebula, the Hugo Award. And when I mention his name to a fellow, to one of my colleagues, they're like, "Who?" I'm like, "How can you not? How can you not know him?" Larry Niven is probably the fourth best science fiction author in the world, and I mentioned Larry Niven. Who? Isaac Asimov. Who? What? Foundation. But so just imagine winning these accolades and just the pressures that come with it, and not getting the recognition that you really feel like you deserve, or the financial. I know many authors who is their second jobs are teaching, or this or that. So it's a tough field. You really got to love it to be in it. It's a tough field. And so mental health awareness is really, I'm dedicated to providing resources for authors who are having a tough time, just smiling in the morning, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm dedicated to that. Uh, a few authors are in this committee, and we're dedicated to providing the resources and helping out authors in that way.
I think that's amazing. It is a topic that's close to my heart as well, because I live with invisible disabilities, and
Mm,
mental health is also an invisible disability. And we live in a society where if people don't see that you have a visual aid or some way of visualizing your illness, people undermine it, they minimize it,
Yeah.
We have a hard time with getting medical cover for it. We always have to fight for it. It's a constant uphill battle, and so raising awareness about it is always a good thing. And the thing that came to my mind when you were talking about making sure authors portray it correctly in their stories. The word that sort of shot in my mind was responsible writing, because
Yep.
you're influencing the minds of so many people. So to get your facts correct is the same. I pretty much felt that way with when you have an influencer, an actor that lives with one of the things I suffer with is fibromyalgia. So you get this well-known actor who says, I have fibromyalgia, but he's doing XYZ, and it can skew what it's about because it's not the
Mm,
same for everybody. So because
right.
this actor says that's how he deals with fibromyalgia, people will assume, well, what are you talking about? He said XYZ. So one's got to be very responsible about the
Mm,
message you get out there. Let's shift over to your book.
okay.
Um, Oware Mosaic. Tell us about that. How did you come up with a name? Tell us a little bit about the book.
So I wanted to create a character. So okay, here's real. This is all right. So I got to back up a little bit. So my first novel, I thought it would be like a really cool. Well, let me back up even further than that. As a teacher, when I was in the English in the classroom teaching English, the textbook said, and I taught at-risk students in the Black community, and African American community in Queens, and the textbook said for them to write what they know. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Write what you know. My kids knew, single mothers, single family homes, poverty, gangs, the streets. And I didn't like that. I'm like, I don't disrespect films that are about that and show that part of our lives, but I wanted my students to know that if they wanted to write about two old Italian people that reconnect and fall in love again, they can write that. If they wanted to write about the space, never having been in the space at all, you just have to do the research. They can write about, wars in the space, or if they wanted to write about a fantasy of, a young boy and his lion, they could write about that. Whatever you could imagine, you just have to do the research to make sure it kind of makes sense and write about it, not just gangs and single family homes and that kind of thing. Um, so with that being said, I know a lot of my Black author friends, they always had Black characters. So I said, I'm just gonna write a different character. I had an Hawaiian character, who was a martial artist. And as well as that book was received, I didn't really get any Black audience. No one like, I didn't get any love from my Black audience, which I thought was funny. It was like, I'm, celebrating us, but I didn't get any love in that. And fast forward to a few years later, I decided that I wanted to write a book that took place in Africa, in Ghana, and I wanted to have this really, really smart character who was a doctor, but she was young, and I had to figure out how can I make her a doctor and she's young and it's real. So I put her in a virtual reality world where she learned how to be a forensic science, a forensic, a coroner through virtual reality, actually doing autopsies in a virtual reality world, and that's how she learned to become an expert at it. Yet in the real world, she wasn't really, she was too young. She was 16, 17 years old, and they didn't really respect her, even though she tried to get a job and was better than all of them. And then I wanted her to have the power of deductive reasoning like a Sherlock Holmes. So I kind of combined those two characteristics and came up with that character and with Feeney Zoe. Zoe XO, like hugs and kisses, or kisses and hugs. And I came up with that character, and then I wrote this kind of like a who done it, or like a what do you call it, like a medical procedural with that character. And it's a really, really great story. I mean, I mean, it really is a good story with, a book, edge of the seat, page turner. You really definitely should get it if you love fiction, if you love sci-fi, if you love horror. You won't be disappointed, all the way to the end. I have a lot of twists and turns. But basically, here's what happens. You ready? Here's what happens. This young girl is coming home from a party, and she's had a little bit to drink, a little bit, not too much, but she accidentally um, she thinks that she hit, another young girl, and she loses it. Calls her brother, who's on the police force, and he comes to her safety. And for her future, covers it up because he knows that if that gets out, her future is lost, and covers it up. And come to find out, the little girl that she thought she killed is actually the real sister in real life of her in-game partner that she has never met before, that she was playing video games in the virtual reality with and solving cases. So in the virtual reality game, they solve cold cases. And the little girl's case actually came up in the game, which was weird because it had just happened. And so now she's trying to prove her innocence and find out who really did kill the girl. So it's a lot of twists and turns. She has a lot of guilt because at first she thinks she's the one who killed her in-game partner's sister, and she wants to tell her and not tell her. And underneath all of that, there's this horror, that's I don't want to kind of let the cat out the bag, but there's this horror underneath all of that really keeps it suspenseful. So it's a great book. I can read a little bit from it whenever
I
if
I'd
you
love
like.
you to. I'd love you to. Now this sounds like one of those stories that needs to become movie at some point. No, I
Woo!
kid you not. You need to turn this into a movie. Seriously.
So so all right. Um, Kate Kate, who's the publisher of Omni and Gatherum. Kate Jones with a Z, Jonez. Kate Jones. She surprised me several months back and sent me a pilot script, a part of a pilot script for that book, and it was amazing. So we put it together, and we finished it. We did what you call a pitch deck, which kind of has all the pictures and kind of gives a producer an idea of how it would look, and the background of it all. We put that together, and I actually gave it to a few of the actors. I work in the entertainment industry and I gave it to a few well-known actors that I respect, and one of them, who's pretty well known, loved it and said he wants to play the main character's father. So we have that, and I actually spoke to a few directors that I know, and they're on board. So now we just got to sell it. If we can sell it, and someone picks it up, I pretty much have a really I have a good idea of some of the people. I have a wish list of some of the actors who will be on it. I'm not casting anyone. That's for the casting department. But yeah. In other words, yeah, we have something in the works for a series called "The Secret Lives of Feeney," which is kind of a spinoff of the book. And but it's basically the story of the book, but we go further. We go 3 seasons further into to her life. So yeah, you nailed it. So we do have a
Wow.
series written
I,
for that book.
I don't think, in 3.5 years that I've interviewed authors, I don't think I've ever had this kind of reaction to a story where I strongly felt this has got to be a movie.
Oh, thank you. Oh man, that's amazing. Appreciate that. That's cool. It makes me feel like I'm on the right track.
Are you going to read us a section? I'd love it if you do.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. For Oware Mosaic. Yeah, yeah. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. I don't know what I'm gonna read, but oh, you know what? I'll start out with the beginning, just to kind of give you a little feel for the beginning. All right.
Awesome.
Now, no one knows this, but uh I want sometimes I do like you like little, what do you call them? Little Easter eggs. I always do like little Easter eggs in my novels. I'm a big Marvel fan, so if you watch these movies and you watch the TV shows, you start seeing little Easter eggs that connects one thing to another, to another, to another. I've been doing this with my book because I know that once all of these books come out, there's going to be a huge fan base. All you have to do is read it, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. You're going to love it. I really confident. The confidence, the con means with, fidence means faith, confidence. I really have confidence that these books are going to do really well and have a huge following. But here's a little thing. Bruce Springsteen has what's his biggest song? I can't even remember the title. I'm terrible with that. I
Oh my
was
goodness.
born.
talking to the wrong person. I have to write everything down. Like my whole day has to be written down in my, my notepad on my Mac is my best friend
That's
because
same. Well, he born in the USA or born whatever it's called. Bruce Springsteen song. So I took some of that. I took some of that first stanza of that song, and I played with it like a little wordplay with the first paragraph of this book. And I took out little words, and you'll see the words if you know the song Born in the USA, whatever it's called. You'll
I
see
think,
some of.
yeah, that's part of the lyrics is born in the USA.
So
Yes, got
so
it.
when you hear a word like spring, right, it's from Bruce Springsteen, right,
Screen.
and Born. So check this out. All right, chapter one, Ghana, Africa, 2025. Not so distant future now. All right. Below 2025 are these numbers. What do they mean? 01010100 dash 0110001, right? Space 01110100 space 01110101. Oh, it means something, and that's after every chapter. All right, so here starts out. I was born in a dead man's city. My first taste of how bitter life was came when my parents died on my eighth birthday. I ended up springing from foster home to foster home, but spent the majority of my useless childhood playing role playing games online to flee from the sting of the African streets. I never played with dolls, wore makeup, nor had a boyfriend. Why? The world had fallen ill due to a virus called hate. And that was one disease that led to war so brutal it crippled the planet. So there wasn't much to do in an insufferable wasteland but play virtual reality games, get wasted, and berate myself for still wanting to make a difference on a planet where the word hope had become obsolete in all languages. That's the first paragraph.
Oh my gosh. You've nailed the art of compelling storytelling because it's like a cliffhanger. It's like, I want more.
Bram Stoker.
Hold on a
Bram
second.
Stoker winning.
I want to put you on full screen. Show me that cover again.
All right. See that? Oware
Beautiful.
Mosaic.
Now, I was looking at those patterns in the cover there. They look like electronic,
Yeah.
a motherboard.
Yeah.
They look like
Yeah.
a motherboard. What is that about?
Well, because the book is all about virtual reality. It's okay. So, um, in this world and in the worlds that I'm writing in these books, everyone has a neural implant in their head. If you saw, what was the name of that? Oh, I can't think of the name of the TV show. But there's a couple of TV shows that kind of have an idea of that. But a neural implant, which I just call a NIM, capital N, small I, capital M, M as in Mary, NIM, neural implant. Everyone has a neural implant in their head. And uh, so when I say she plays a virtual reality game, it's in her mind. It's not sitting at a console playing it.
Got
It's
it.
in her mind. So they go to school. There are schools like online schools. There are neural schools where they learn everything in their mind. They just sit in a room and they can access it and turn it on. And there's like a virtual HUD, a virtual HUD, where they can kind of see stuff on their cornea. Like if you the Terminator movies where you see the all the information. It's kind of like that. So the artist was just ingenious and kind of putting that imagery on the cover because it all has a lot to do with virtual reality and neural implants and computers and electronics. It was just an amazing cover. I love the cover. It's awesome.
So, how did you get the artist to nail what you had in your head and in the story? Because I'm always fascinated to find out, because you envision your cover in your mind,
No,
but you have to transfer that to someone else.
no. I mean, when traditional publishing, for the most part, you have nothing at all to do with the artist, the cover artist. When you're traditionally published, nothing to do with it. You just kind of wait and hope that it's a nice cover. And so yeah, it was just like a surprise. I just saw it and was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love it. You can actually love it or not love it, but live with
It
it and love it because it's yours. That kind of thing. So
it's a
yeah,
great cover, and I
thank
knew
you.
that person was a motherboard because my son's an engineer.
But it's kind of subliminal too, right? It's like subliminal. It's like the kind of stuff is there, but it's not there. So I like that. It's cool.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, well done on that. So let's move over to your other book, Lipstick Asylum.
Woo!
Um,
Boy, look here.
tell me about the book.
All right. So Alexandra Sokolov taught me so much. I took her workshop. Man, she has a book and a series called Screenwriting Tricks for Authors. And it's just a phenomenal book based on some of the previous authors who had books about structures. And I learned, that, one of the things is to have like a better title, a title that people can relate to a lot better, or that just gave you this kind of taste in your mouth. Like just give you an idea, like they call high concept titles. Like for example, when you hear the title Meet the Parents, most people automatically knows what that is. High concept. Meet the Parents. You automatically know. You know what I mean? Everyone, even from teenagers up, has had to meet the parents. And there's so much
Kind of
weight
like when
just with those
you're
three
going to
words.
marry somebody, and they say, it's time to meet the parents. Ooh,
Yeah, yeah. So that's a high concept title. So Oware Mosaic is not a high concept title. Um, and after just studying and studying and studying Alexandra Sokolov's books and her teachings and the notes that I had from her classes, I said I need to come up with something a little bit better in my title that just and I thought I was gonna do lipstick zombies, but the publisher hated that. She was like, I don't want to do anymore. Oh my God, I can't stand it. That she's like, I hate it. I hate it. That's an inside joke now. I hate it. Right? I hate it. Inside joke. Anyway, uh, she hated it. She said, you got to come up with something better. And I looked at the story and I came up with Lipstick Asylum. Um, Now it's not as high concept as Meet the Parents or anything like that, but it's a very intriguing title. Once you read the book, you kind of realize where it all comes from. And lipstick is such a great branding concept because basically um, a lipstick asylum is really like an asylum for the most part for criminally insane women and men, but more so criminally insane women. So the lipstick part puts the female touch on it. And so yeah, we went with the title and we just had a great time with that. And it's a reimagining of the Silver Slasher story, but I totally flipped it. Like you get a house, you gut it out, you flip it, you change it, and you show it to the world. It's a totally different house. Yeah, boy, look at that cover, man. That cover creepy. Do you see those yellow eyes and that ghoul on the bottom? Woo, that's creepy. Ah. So and the lips, I love the lips, the branding of the lips. I gotta get t-shirts with the lips on it. So yeah,
I
so
show you my other branded logo.
huh?
I have to show you that logo sometime.
Oh, I love to see it. I love to see it because you have a whole style, your whole presentation. I know you have a great style. Yeah, so I flipped it, and I made it a black girl from Brooklyn, from Brownsville, who had a lot of attitude. She's a necromancer with attitude, and she's part of a group called the Scream Teens. Some teenagers who can raise the dead for a living, and she's into necrotainment, where people hire her to raise the dead for just entertainment. And it's a really wild story. It's a lot of action. I wanted to. I love Steven Spielberg, and I always wanted to do something like an Indiana Jones type of pacing. So it has that pacing. If you watch Indiana Jones, the first one, man, Temple of Doom, the first one, any of those movies, really, it's like soon as something happens and it kind of quiets down, within 30 seconds, something else happens. It just never stops. And that's how that's what I wanted for that book. Um, and so, yeah, you want to hear a little bit of it? Can I read a little bit? Just a little bit of it. Would you? No? All right. So,
Absolutely would
chapters
love you to, please.
Okay, chapter two starts off like this. Now remember, this is I'll try to capture her tone and mood. This is both of these characters are female, so I like to write female protagonists because I grew up around all women, sisters, grandmothers, mamas, my mommy. So here's how it starts off. Some girls talk too much. Others stole boyfriends, but my vice was raising the dead, and I've got receipts. Maybe, just maybe, as a little black girl growing up in Brownsville, I spent one too many nights stealing my father's password to his Netflix account to secretly binge watch horror flicks. Because now we live in Honolulu. Not only am I a lifetime member of FML Incorporated, I'm a walking, talking freak show on the island. The chicken scratch I signed the back of my checks with said Cozy Mel Coleman, but most times I just went by Cozy. And just in case it crossed your mind, I heard every porn joke in the book, making wisecracks about my name so you can keep them to yourselves or catch a fat lip. I made a pretty cool living working as a necromancer with the Scream teams. Our parents wanted us to have a more business-like name like Honolulu Aerial Ash Scattering Company or Resurrection Incorporated. Jess, Squiggy, and I thought those were lame names. What's the first thing you want to do when a corpse is reanimated? Scream, right? Point made, microphone dropped. Moving on, new deal. We raised zombies for mourners to say their last goodbyes. A lot of times we did it for police investigations, or if a person died before making a will, and we'd have to dig them up to find out who got what. Afterwards, we cremated the dead heads and scattered the remains of Hawaii's beautiful waters. As a matter of fact, some guy from the military base in Honolulu kept blowing up my phone, leaving messages on my voicemail that he wanted me to raise some dead soldier for a case they were investigating. But I had other plans. Look, I just turned 18, so if I wanted to ditch some lame colonel for something way more hella fun, I would. What? Can a girl have priorities? Twilight peeked over my shoulders as I looked for my friends while aboard the Sea Queen, aka the ship of 1,000 corpses, the best freaking zombie themed cruise in America. Imagine being one of those magnificent hotels in Las Vegas during spring break. The golden elevators, escalators, walk-over bridges, restaurants, and stores filled with tons of thrill-seeking college kids and horror-geeked adults. You could call the Sea Queen one of the world's best luxury hotels, but on water. A woman hired me to do a raising on the ship. Jess and her boyfriend Squiggy, both Harlem born and Kenyan descended like me, small world, were going to help. After I finally got dressed, I saw Jess's wacky picture that she posted on InstaSnap and her little bitchy complaint that she and Squiggy were waiting on me. I'm always fashionably late in the bar on the deadhead deck. Unfortunately, I didn't have a clue where to go. The captain was escorting me up, but some urgent call came in and he dashed out of the elevator speaking radio codes into his walkie talkie. Almost done. Check this last paragraph out. One of my all time fave videos, Savage, played on the inside of the elevator doors via a high tech projector system. I loved it that I could watch a music video, although one I've seen a gazillion times, inside of the elevator. A volume control knob sat beneath the red emergency button. In the video, Megan brushed her teeth while telling those fine men that were washing her car that they missed the spot. I love that part. All right, all right, all right. That's enough. I turned the sound down so I could briefly gather my thoughts for the raising. Watching those bare chested men got me too distracted. The elevator doors eased open. I stepped out, immediately folding my arms and shivering. I wore a black midriff t shirt, tight leather pants, and some 5.5 knee high gothic boots. I sighed, berating myself for not wearing a warmer top. The ship's fake fog blanketed the air so I could barely see anything. Already late, I didn't want to waste any more time, so I stopped to ask a person dressed like a zombie nun for directions. She sat on a bench in front of the ship's theater under the stars, rocking back and forth. A broken dog leash dangled in her hand. The closer I got, the more I realized her hunched, feeble posture. Lady, are you okay? I asked. She didn't answer, but kept rocking. Her abrupt movements made her wimple flap around her neck and chin. I glanced up at the speaker mounted on the wall above us, creeped out by the spooky organ music steaming out in the foggy air. The lady made a gurgling sound. Miss, hey, are you okay? Her head lifted slowly. The yellow rays from the moon crept into the shadows under her headdress. I stepped forward, slowly, swallowing unease. A name spilled out of my mouth, slow, whispered, Mrs. Goose? And I'm going to stop right there.
Oh my goodness. Mind blown. Totally
Thank you.
mind blown.
Thank you.
You are a gifted writer.
Oh, oh,
Truly,
bless your heart.
wow, truly gifted. And I'm going to now do something that I've never done before, but I have got to,
Oh,
just because of your amazing cover here, I can't resist. But I hope you can see it. Okay, that's too small. Hold on a second,
I
because I didn't
trust.
set this up. But this is part of. There we go.
Oh,
That's my personal brand logo.
oh, wait, it's a lip. I can barely see it, but it's like a lip. I'm,
Yes,
I'm,
I know it's tiny, but
oh, we're connected. Look at
when I
that.
when I when I saw that, I thought, oh wow, you'd appreciate that logo of mine.
Oh, that's awesome. Great minds. Great minds think alike.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
awesome.
So to those of you who are watching us over on Amazon Live, oh my goodness, both the books are in the carousel and more than definitely, worth a read. Get these two books that are page turning, are amazing. And
Thank you.
I have never felt, I've interviewed some amazing authors, but wow,
Appreciate
just
it.
wow.
Wow.
Great job on your books.
Thank
What's
you.
next for you? I mean, I don't you've I don't think I've ever felt this speechless before in an interview, because I'm just so in awe of your style of writing. It's like a cliffhanger. It's like, page turner. It's definitely books that I would not want to put down, that I would want to finish, just read
Good.
them through the night. They great books. What's
I'm
next
trying
for
to I'm
you?
trying to heat you up. I'm trying to heat you up faster than yesterday's leftover turkey. I'm trying-
What's next for you? What's next?
I am okay. Just in case you're watching this, really incredible literary agent that I got in contact with when I was at home in New York, and I told you I'd send it to you in 2 weeks. Um, I'm and it's now been about 2 months because I felt like it has to be right, and it's not right. It's not organic yet. So I'm working on something now that I can't even tell you the title because it's from what I understand, it's a brand new concept. So it's that kind of thing where you don't want anyone to, you know, I don't want anyone to through osmosis to have that same idea. So it's a brand new concept. But I can say it started out as a superhero horror novel, and I would have to probably spend a few more years. As much as I'm a comic book collector and have tons and tons and tons and tons of comic books all the way from 1978 to now. I haven't learned to master the comic book genre to write that, and it just doesn't feel right to me. But all I did was kind of turn it into the supernatural, and it was perfect. So I'm working on that, but still introducing my father's character. So in 1966, a character by the name of Little Zing was introduced and published. It was actually the first black character published. My father wrote Little Zing, and comic books and a book, and I think in comic strips as well. And 3 years before Black Panther, so that was Black Panther was '69, I believe. Oh, actually, I don't. I think Dad was in '63 and Black Panther was in '66, or Dad was in '66 and Black Panther was in '69, something like that. But it was 3 years before Black Panther, which is about 4 to 5 years before the Falcon and Power Man. So it was the first black character published. And so one of my father's colleagues and co-publishers got in contact with me about right when the Black Panther movie hit $1 billion, and said, "Hey man, people," or actually called me Mandisi. My first name's actually Mandisi. He said, "Mandisi, people are ready for your father's character. You need to bring him back out." So I'm doing that, and Dad, rest in peace, is gonna be a little different, Dad. you know, because I got to put my spin on it, but I'm reintroducing his character. So I'm working on that, and it's gonna be something you've never seen before. It's a little sci-fi, a little horror, and a tad. I'm not doing the superhero thing. It's gonna be a little different. So I'm working on that, and I think it's gonna be phenomenal. I really do. I think it's gonna be really good. When I'm finished with it, it'll be really good. And for you, dear literary agent, who I told I'd have it to you in 2 weeks, when it's done, promise you'll have the first look at it. So yeah,
That sounds amazing. Nzondi, this was fantabulous. Thank you so much. I wish you well, and I'd love to have you back as a guest again. This was
I
amazing.
would
I
love to
could
come
talk,
back.
I could talk, I could talk to you again for hours. But thank you so much. A huge big thank you to everyone who's joined us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and over Amazon Live. Thank you so much for joining us,
Can
and
I give a
go and
quick
get.
shout out? Quick shout out.
Yes,
Can I give
do
a quick
do
shout out?
do do.
Creative Edge, you are the best. Thank you so much for all you do. Creative Edge is the best publicity firm in the world. Thank you, Creative Edge.
Thank you, Nzondi. We'll chat soon. Take care, everyone, and goodbye for now.
Peace.